Chapter 1. I started to feel it. I never saw a message. I never heard another name. There was no proof. But something changed. At first, I told myself it was nothing. People change. Days get busy. Life becomes heavy sometimes. That is what I believed. He used to come home and talk about small things. What he ate, who he met, something funny on the street. Now, he came home tired. Not angry, just empty. He would sit down, look at his phone, and stay quiet. I sat near him, but it felt like there was a space between us. Not a big space, just enough to feel cold. I asked simple questions. How was your day? Fine. What did you do? Nothing special. His answers were short, too short. I told myself not to overthink. I smiled, I nodded, I continued my day. But inside, something didn't feel right. I started to notice small details. He stopped leaving his phone on the table. He always put it face down. Always. Before, he didn't care. When his phone vibrated, he checked it quickly. Too quickly. Then he locked the screen and put it away. I never asked who it was. I didn't want to sound suspicious. I didn't want to be that person. I told myself, if I ask, I will look insecure. If I ask, I will create a problem. So I stayed quiet. At night, we lay in bed together. The room was dark. The air was heavy. He turned his back to me. Not suddenly, slowly. I watched his shoulders move as he breathed. I wanted to say something, anything, but my mouth stayed closed. I thought about all the moments before, how we used to talk before sleeping, how he used to touch my hand, how close we felt. Now I felt like I was watching him from far away, even though he was right there. The next morning, he left earlier than usual. He kissed my cheek, but it felt rushed, like a habit, not a feeling. When the door closed, the apartment felt too quiet. I stood in the kitchen holding my cup of coffee. It went cold in my hands. I asked myself a question I didn't want to answer. When did this start? I couldn't remember the exact day. It didn't happen all at once. It was slow, silent, like a shadow growing longer at the end of the day. I checked myself in the mirror. Was I imagining things? Was I tired? Was I the problem? I replayed conversations in my head. I searched for mistakes, for signs, but there was nothing clear, only a feeling. And feelings are dangerous because you can't prove them. That evening, we ate dinner together. The sound of forks and plates filled the silence. I wanted to ask him something simple. Are you okay? The words stayed in my throat. I was afraid of his answer, and I was afraid of no answer at all. So instead I said, the food is good today. He smiled, a small smile, not the one I remembered. Yes, he said, it is. And then silence again. Later, I sat alone on the couch. The lights were low. Outside, the city moved as usual. Cars passed. People laughed somewhere far away. Life continued. I looked at my phone, then put it down. I didn't want to distract myself. I wanted to understand what I was feeling. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was uncertainty. The kind that sits quietly inside you. The kind that grows when you pretend not to see it. I realized something that scared me. I didn't need proof anymore. I didn't need messages or words, because my body already knew. My chest felt tight when he walked into the room. My stomach dropped when his phone lit up. I felt like I was waiting for something. A mistake, a confession, an ending. But nothing came. Only silence. That night, I lay in bed again. I stared at the ceiling. I thought, maybe tomorrow everything will be normal. I repeated it like a promise, but deep inside I knew. Tomorrow would feel the same, and that scared me more than the truth. The days continued. Nothing dramatic happened, no arguments, no loud words, and that was the hardest part, because everything looked normal, but it didn't feel normal anymore. I started to listen more than I spoke. I noticed how his voice changed when he talked on the phone. It became lighter, almost softer. Not like when he talked to me. When I entered the room, he ended the call quickly, always with the same sentence. "I'll call you later." He never said who he was talking to. I didn't ask. One evening, he came home later than usual. "I had work," he said. I nodded. I didn't ask which work. I didn't ask why he didn't text. I watched him take off his jacket. I noticed a new smell, not strong, just different. I told myself it was the city, the street, someone else's perfume in the air. But my heart didn't believe it. I started to feel tired, not in my body, in my mind. Every conversation felt like walking on thin ice. Every silence felt louder than words. Sometimes I wanted to scream. Sometimes I wanted to disappear. Instead, I stayed calm. One night, we sat together on the balcony. The city lights were bright below us. He was scrolling on his phone. I was watching the sky. I finally said something. "You're different lately." He looked at me, surprised, but not confused. "Different how?" he asked. I searched for the right words. "Just far." He smiled again, that same small smile. "You're overthinking," he said. Two simple words, overthinking. I nodded. I always nodded. But that night I couldn't sleep. I turned from side to side. He slept peacefully next to me. I wondered how someone could sleep so well while someone else was breaking silently beside them. I realized something important. If I asked him directly, I might hear a lie. Or worse, I might hear the truth. And I wasn't ready for either. The next day, I went out alone. I walked slowly through the streets. People passed me, busy with their lives. I felt invisible. I asked myself a question I avoided for days. What if I already know? The answer came quietly. Maybe I did. That evening, he told me he would be late again. I said, "Okay." My voice sounded calm, too calm. After he left, I sat down on the floor. The apartment felt empty, but not because he wasn't there. It felt empty because I already lost him while he was still walking in and out of the door. I didn't cry, I didn't break anything. I just sat there and accepted something painful. Sometimes people don't leave suddenly. Sometimes they leave slowly, in pieces, in silence. When he came home that night, I looked at him. He looked the same, but I wasn't. I understood that my silence was also a choice to protect myself from hearing words that would change everything. I still didn't ask the question, not because I was weak, but because I knew once I asked, there would be no way back. I turned off the light and went to bed. Tomorrow, I would decide whether to stay silent or finally speak.